got more wheelbase, it's got more doors, and it's got more space inside. This is the Suzuki Jimny XL, which of course means extra large. It's still, though, a very small car overall, but if you want something with a little bit more room inside and a bit more practicality, you might be looking at one of these. So it's still small overall, but does it pack a punch off-road? Let's go find out. The 2024 Suzuki Jimny XL is priced from $34,990 plus on-road costs, and it comes in only one specification level. But you can choose between a 5-speed manual gearbox or a 4-speed auto, and the latter is the more expensive choice and is what we've got here on test. That costs $36,490 plus on roads. So this means opting for the long wheelbase XL costs $3,000 more than your regular Jimny, while going for the auto brings a $1,500 impulse to the asking price. The XL wheelbase grows 340 mils from 2,250 up to 2,590 mils, and the overall length grows at the same rate, but it's still under 4 meters long, this car, at 3,985 mils. It's 90 kilos heavier as well from the increased size, but there's a higher GVM, and that allows for a slightly better payload of 345 kilos. Ground clearance remains steady at 210 mils, but the departure angle is reduced from 49 to 47 degrees, and the ramp over angle takes a bigger hit as well, going down from 28 to 24 degrees. Powertrain details remain the same. There's a naturally aspirated 1.5 litre petrol 4-cylinder engine, and that churns out a mighty 75 kilowatts and 130 newton meters. That runs through a low-range transfer case, of course, and coil-sprung live axles front and rear. Here's the interior of the new Suzuki Jimny XL, and up front, mostly it's the same kind of experience that you get in the regular 3-door Jimny. Once you jump in here, and if you're used to other 4-wheel drives, you'll get a sense of smallness, I guess, especially narrowness in terms of the size of this car. It's not a big vehicle at the end of the day, but I've got to say, I'm reasonably comfortable. My knee is up against the door, and my other knee's over on this side here, but it's okay. I wish I did have a bit of reach adjustment through the steering column. Unfortunately, there is only tilt, but you do have a bit of manual adjustment available through the seats as well to get you dialed in to where you need to be. In terms of build quality, I had a question about, because this car comes from the Indian production line instead of the Japanese one, is there going to be a difference in that regard? And with my time in the car so far, I haven't noticed anything. This does all feel pretty well made and solid. It's a lot of hard plastics, but it's reasonably textured and a little bit different. I do love the old vintage style dashboard here in terms of the instrument cluster. You also get a new infotainment display, which is a 9-inch system. That's also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a slightly different operating system as well, which is good, I think, and an improvement for the Jimny overall. In terms of power outlets, we've got one 12-volt power outlet there, plus a USB. That's about it. Not a whole lot going on. There could be a wireless charging pad there, but there isn't. That's just a spot to maybe throw your phone and your wallet and that sort of thing. Regular old glove box there, and a small shelf in front of the passenger. Not a whole lot of storage in here, but I mean, it's a small car, so you're not going to expect it to be like a commercial van or something. The cup holders, they sit further back here, which is kind of behind you, which is maybe a little bit awkward because you've got to kind of reach back and look down to grab your Coca-Cola or your coffee or whatever it might be. You kind of get used to it. I think it's not too bad, but you know, they sit further back there. You've also got 2 buttons here to operate your electric windows at the back. They've snuck them in here because there's no room up front here where they are normally for the front windows in the vehicle. There's a manual low range lever here, of course an automatic transmission lever, and then your climate control is here. Single zone climate. These controls work quite well though. They're easy to operate and figure out. You can just twist the dials to get what you need, change the mode for your fan direction. It works, it's nice and simple, and it gets the job done. And here's the second row of the Jimny XL, and probably the main reason why you might want to buy this over the regular 3-door Jimny. You've actually got a little bit of space here, and obviously an extra set of doors to jump in and out. This is still a small car though, and you do get a little bit of sense of crampedness in the back here. It's definitely not huge, but I've got to say, that's my driving position up front there. I'm a little bit under 6 foot tall, and look at that, I've actually got a little bit of leg room left over there. Bit of foot room as well, that's pretty good. Headroom's not too bad, like it's tight, but I do fit comfortably in here. So you know what, it's actually not too bad. The width is a little bit of a different story though. This is only a 4-seater, remember, so you don't have room for 3 in here, it's only 2. And I think if you started to spread out a little bit like that, there's not a whole lot of room left over for much else. You don't get much in terms of features either. There's no air vents, there's no power outlets here. I suppose you could steal one of the cup holders if you wanted it from the front there. There's map pockets, and well, you know, that's about it. But hey, I do fit. Load space in the boot has gone up by almost 250% in the Jimny XL. It's now at 211 litres, or there is 1,113 litres when you fold the back seats down. Those seats don't fold flat, however, and in reality, the amount of space in the back is still very small overall. A lot of people are really obsessed with four-wheel drives in terms of how big they are. They talk about big Land Cruisers and Patrols because they've got big engines and big suspension and big capability off-road. But this Jimny, even though this is the XL, it's the big dog of the range, it really goes against that. And it's still a very small vehicle to drive off-road. But if you think it's not capable, you would have another thing coming, because this thing feels really, really good where it matters. I'm currently driving some fairly narrow little bush tracks up in the Blue Mountains, and it just reminds me, if I had to choose, if you threw me the keys to this Jimny and a Nissan Patrol and said, go off-road and just have fun for the day, I'd choose this car. It's more fun to drive, and it is really capable. It's a different kind of capability overall, but the nimbleness is really a big deal. You might assume that you'd run out of clearance because the tires are small. Doesn't look like there's a lot of clearance there, but the car just really surprises you with how well it can get through challenging terrain. It feels nice and stable. It's got radius arm, front and rear suspension that feels nice and balanced. There is a traction control system that I haven't really put through its paces yet because I've kept traction mostly going downhill, but I'll see how that goes a little bit further along. But this Jimny, it's fantastic. And even though we are in the long wheelbase variant, so we've got more length, we've got a bit less ramp over angle, you don't really tend to notice. It still feels like the same nimble vehicle. Yes, the turning circle might not be as amazing and that sort of thing, but it's still really good, and it just feels right at home, especially on these fun little tight tracks that I'm on today. Now I've got a challenging little section of track here to take on, which should be really interesting, I think. Just went down it, and now, well, that's the way it is. I've got to come back up now, so let's see how we go. This Jimny hasn't got any clearance upgrades. It's got tiny little tires. The clearance is pretty good still. Let's just see how we go here. Crawling up nice and slow. Good thing about this car is the size of it, so you can nibble away at different areas to just get a feel for where you've got to be, and you'll really surprise yourself with how easily this will get over some tough terrain. Crawling nice and slow here, no need for wheel spin. Obviously because it's so light, it just tends to do it. That's awesome. It's actually done it a lot easier than I thought it would. Awesome little car off-road. Well, it only took me a few minutes of driving this Jimny XL to remind me of all the reasons why I love this car so much. And out in the bush, in this kind of scenario, you can see where it really shines. Now in this video, we haven't covered the on-road driving part of it and the day-to-day living. And well, cliff notes in that regard, it's fairly slow, it's unrefined, it's a bit compromised in terms of the overall driving experience and the interior. Yes, this car is bigger, but it's still fairly cramped and basic overall. If you want something that's better in all those regards, go buy a regular small SUV. But if you want one of these and you spend a lot of time out in the bush here, you will really grow to love this car. It's got a bit of character, it's got a bit of charm where other new vehicles don't, and the capability, it's there in spades. This is a really, really fun new vehicle in Australia. If you like this review, or even if you just love the Suzuki Jimny, give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you want to see all of the details of this Suzuki Jimny, on-road, off-road, there's other comparisons on our website and all sorts of other things, head over to Drive.com.au.